Don't let the headlines fool you. This is how the economy is shaping the real estate market of 2025.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of news in the headlines on the economy, on tariffs, on the stock market. Really, when it comes to day-to-day, what are we seeing in the real estate market is, one, right when the tariffs came out, we had that big kind of drop in interest rates.
And then they went back up. And then February, the real estate market did slow for a short bit. And now we're picking right back into it.
Yeah, it's been a really busy spring season. We've had a lot of multiple offers. We've had still low inventory. There's a ton of buyers out there. So I think when it comes to, man, is this economy and the tariffs, is that having a huge impact on having home prices going down, right? I had a client actually talk to me, it was like, hey, based on what the economy is doing, I'm concerned about having my house sell, right? And I was like, your house is the most saleable house it's ever been, right? So I think realizing that based off of what the headlines are saying is not always what exactly happens in the housing market. And I think also realizing that when we do have a little bit of a correction in the stock market or in the economy, is home sales and home prices typically go up those years, right? I think that people think that the stock market and housing market are one and the same. Right? And they're not. They're two separate entities. It's actually increasing. I think the other thing that has been at the forefront of my mind is when it comes to building and new construction. New construction is a huge part of the real estate economy as a whole right now because of the lack of inventory. That new builds are really important. There have been a lot of sales that happen in that area. Is going, if tariffs get introduced, is that going to drastically increase the price of new construction? And I mean,
currently talking with our builder and him talking with lumber suppliers, they have not seen the increases in building materials, and those costs just have not went up. Some have actually went down since these tariffs kind of have been getting pushed out there. So
yeah, the question of the builder today was, have you seen from the lumber yard any increase in lumber prices based off of the tariffs happening? It's like, no, if anything, they've actually gone down a little bit. Then are you seeing it in any other supplier, building material out of anything you build out of a house? And he's like, the one that we are seeing is actually uniquely fireplaces. That's not what I thought he was going to say. So a lot of those things haven't been hit in any way in increasing prices to be able to increase the cost of materials and the cost to build a home. We haven't seen that hit on that side of new construction. Then also having this question to him of going, when it comes to building prices, are we higher than we were 3 years ago during COVID? Are we lower? What have we seen building prices do over the last few years?
And it's kind of remained about the same, maybe went up a little bit as far as the total cost of the package. The big thing he did say has went up is labor costs have increased. But other than that, the prices really haven't changed that dramatic.
Yeah. So I think when it goes to, hey, I'm thinking about doing a remodel or I'm thinking about building a new house, but I'm worried about how tariffs are impacting that and assuming that that's the reason for the cost of these things of what they're at now, is that isn't exactly what we're seeing at all, right? It is a little bit more of, if you do see a higher cost now than you did before, it's more so on the fact that labor just ends up costing a lot more right now.
Right.
So obviously with inflation, everything, that's something that kind of gets created with that. But back to, I think, the spring selling season or spring market, what are we kind of seeing out there in Minnesota right now?
It's still the kind of same song and dance we've been running for the last 3-4 years, is supply and demand, where the inventory is not out there. There's the lack of homes for sale coupled with, again, people with the golden handcuffs of the lower interest rates still aren't moving. So that is creating the demand and still pushing pricing up. We've increased the last couple of years, even though the news has said, there's been a huge decrease, but on average, we've increased about 3% last year and the year before. So,
yeah. And I think we're seeing, especially right now, I think in the last kind of 2 weeks, right? And it's April 22nd right now. The last 2 or 3 weeks have been really strong for sellers. There's a lot of buyers out there right now trying to compete over the same homes. We just had a listing this past weekend where we ended up getting, it's on Easter weekend, right? And we got 15 offers on the house. I think it was like 27 total showings, but that's a lot
Right.
of offers for how many showings can I have, and also being on a holiday weekend. So we're kind of seeing a lot of buyers out there in the marketplace kind of competing for the same houses right now. And you're right on. I do think we're starting to see some of the golden handcuffs for people that have their really low interest rate. They're in a house they don't necessarily love, but they don't know when to re-enter the market, right? Where they go, well, I can't build it or I can't replicate what I have, but I don't like what I have. How long are they going to wait until they just decide to make the move, right? Knowing that, hey, it's probably not going to get to 3% again. Prices aren't going to drop back down to when you bought this house in 2018, right? And I think there's a lot of that realization for sellers. And that's kind of the conversation we always have with them, is going, if not now, then when? Is it going to get much cheaper for you? Are interest rates going to plummet? And I think it's always that piece too of like, if it does, that's when you get the chance to refi, but you can't refi the price of the house. And do we have something on the foreseeable horizon of going, man, I think prices are going to drop, you know?
And no, there's nothing in the foreseeable future that I see, or I don't think anybody sees at this point, where prices are going to take a huge plummet. I mean, and if interest rates plan was to have them tick down this year, if they hit 6, 5.5, 6, I think it's going to be multiple offers all over again. I think we're going to hit some of that 2021 numbers of people getting the pent up demand is there, that people want to move. And we're seeing, again, those golden handcuffs come off a little bit. And I think some of those interest rates come down a little bit. That's going to really push those people that maybe bought in that early COVID and just bought because they could afford it and don't really like the house, and now are like, all right, interest rates down enough, I got enough equity in here, I'll make that move.
Yeah. So I think moral of the story is when it comes to what's happening in the stock market, what's happening with tariffs, is we're not seeing a direct slowdown or stopping of the real estate market at all. If anything, it's kind of going the other way, right? Interest rates have fluctuated, but buyers are out there. Sellers are getting top dollar for their houses. It's been difficult for buyers to get houses, right?
Yep.
We haven't seen a big cutoff. And also when it comes to the building construction and new builds, we're not seeing a giant price increase that I thought we would see,
Right.
If we have tariffs, in place, or this stuff is happening, that obviously that's going to hit a lot of the building materials that are supplied from overseas. And that hasn't happened. So I think a little bit of the insider look of what's happening in the housing market based off of what the economy is doing. And it's a busy spring selling season.
Yep.
It's a busy spring market. So if you're thinking about selling, man, selling right now is an absolute
Great
outstanding time, right? If you're thinking about buying, I don't know when it's going to get easier, right?
You can always refi down the road. I mean, if you're going to wait for the market to crash, you could be waiting 5 more years.
Yeah. Or wait till the winter. We always have this conversation of like, hey, here's your time
Now,
when it's not
yes.
as competitive and stuff, but not everybody else is doing it. Yeah, there's that time. People rarely ever choose that time.
Correct.
That's for sure.
Nobody wants to move when it's 30 below. So
Yeah. Well, till next time.